Oh, will it work? Hopefully it works this time. Let's see. No, it's not working at all. Okay, do you know what? We're just gonna do the live show, and whatever this is with restream and stuff, I couldn't care less anymore. We're just gonna do the live show and hope for the best. And sorry for all of this inconvenience. Okay, tonight we're going to be talking about microstream, essentially microstream. Tonight we're going to be talking about MicroStrategy. We're also going to go through news on tonight's live regarding Coinbase. We're going to talk about tonight's live also regarding Grayscale's perspective, essentially on Bitcoin. We're going to talk about tonight's live regarding CZ's situation right now inside the crypto space. We're going to go through news regarding banks and essentially Coinbase and the crypto space headbutting each other. We're going to go through essentially news on tonight's live regarding Congress and essentially Trump and the World Liberty Financial Project. We're also going to go through news on tonight's live regarding Seattle. We're going to go on essentially through Ripple news on tonight's live as well, Bitcoin news on tonight's live regarding perspectives that are coming out on Bitcoin's future, essentially. But the first news we are going to be covering on tonight's live is MicroStrategy. Before we talk about MicroStrategy, let's go through the comment section first, just in case there was some questions or something at the beginning of the live show that I might have missed. And then we're going to straight into the first news. By the looks of it, nobody can like or retweet this live show. So this is pretty much think of as an exclusive live show that you can only essentially watch it if you're capable of finding it on X, because for some reason it doesn't come up. But the live show comes up, but the post doesn't come up. So think of it as like an exclusive live show by the looks of it. So let's see what was at the beginning of the live show, just in case I missed it. You're back. Even Miles of CMF. Jason, good to see how you're doing. Funky, good to see as well. How you doing? JP, good to see as well. How you doing? Ultimate, good to see as well. How you doing? Matt, good to see as well. How you doing? Kerry, good to see as well. How you doing? Autistic, good to see as well. How you doing? Shelly, good to see as well. How you doing? Spoke too soon. Yep. Ian, good to see as well. How you doing? You're back. Let's go. Kerry, good to see you as well. Susie, good to see you as well. Joe, good to see you as well. Carl, good to see you as well. How you doing? Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? All good. Let's go. Facts. We're just gonna move forward with it. Carl Hartmauer, good to see you for Facts News. Let's go. So, MicroStrategy. Apparently, there's some major concerns going on regarding MicroStrategy might getting ready to dump some of their bitcoins because they are still sitting at some sort of a massive loss. Can't see on YouTube now. I don't know what's happening. I'll be honest. We're just going to continue and power through. Whatever happens, happens. As long as you can see me either on X or on YouTube, we're just going to power through because I don't want to stop it again just in case we don't come back on live for some reason. And then I'm going to get off the live show when it's done and give an absolute hammering speech to Restream because what the hell is this service they're providing me? But, anyways, concerns over MicroStrategy selling Bitcoin are essentially unfounded, Michael Saylor says. So Michael Saylor essentially is coming out defending that he's not going to be dumping his Bitcoin on the market space and that he is forever going to be some sort of a Bitcoin maxi. MicroStrategy Executive Chairman Michael Saylor has moved to calm market jitters following rumors that his firm might be getting ready to dump on the market space. In an interview with CoinDesk today, Michael Saylor dismissed essentially speculations of a sell-off sentiment that's going around regarding MicroStrategy right now. The rumors had begun to circulate after a period of extreme market volatility, which we also experienced, leading to essentially some investors to fear that the firm, MicroStrategy, might be getting ready to dump a huge pile of Bitcoin on the market space. Saylor emphasized that MicroStrategy's financial structure is designed especially to withstand market downturns and black swan events. He pointed out that essentially the company's recent activities, including a fresh $19 million essentially purchase of 1,142 Bitcoins, even while trading below cost, demonstrate a strategy of accumulation, essentially not distribution. Our goal is to acquire as much Bitcoin as we can, as fast as we can, and hold it forever, Saylor stated, not to dump it on the market space. The clarification comes at a sensitive time for the market as Bitcoin navigates the $70,000 range. aimed at cooling essentially labor market and shifting Fed liquidity plans. Saylor's essentially unwavering stance serves as a signal to institutional investors that the corporate essentially hold model remains intact despite the short-term price fluctuations that everybody's essentially experienced inside the market space. So if you thought to yourself, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor might be, dumping silently or is going to be dumping on the market space, by the looks of it, he's standing firm. He's a Bitcoin maxi till the day he dies. He eats and breathes Bitcoin, and that isn't changing for him whatsoever. So no fears on that side of the spectrum that Bitcoin might dump on the market space because of strategy. I'm having coffee and water again at the same time. Now, Coinbase is what we're going to talk about on tonight's live next. Moving on from MicroStrategy. So this is no fears there because the entire crypto space is still attached to, unfortunately, Bitcoin's footsteps. And we haven't decoupled yet because we can't get regulations because the Republican Party and the Democratic Party just can't get things straight. So Coinbase is what we're going to talk about next. And JP Morgan. Coinbase and JP Morgan for the longest time have been on the same side, you could pretty much say, just because of that connection they have with BlackRock and Coinbase being the custody platform, essentially for BlackRock and other major players. 1 second. Sorry about that, everyone. Everything is happening. I really don't know what's going on. I was very, nothing was happening until I pressed that live button. Connection issues, live issues, reconnecting issues, stretched faced issues, blurry issues, SD issues, comment section issues, not being able to come out on X, YouTube isn't working, and and essentially now I'm sneezing. I don't know what's happening, but everything is happening at the same time the moment I press that go live button. Going back to this, Coinbase and JP Morgan. Coinbase and JP, have I been hexed or something? Coinbase and JP Morgan for the longest time have been on the same side of the spectrum due to that middleman connection of BlackRock and everybody else that uses Coinbase as a custody platform. However, Coinbase and JP Morgan now slowly becoming some sort of essentially, rivals against each other due to the Genius Act, which is essentially, trying to put yields on stablecoins is what Coinbase wants. JP Morgan doesn't want yields on stablecoins in any sort of a way. And that's when the issue started to rise, which is why today, JP Morgan, being a big child, decided to essentially categorically put Coinbase's stock down. And in other words, the simplest way to put it is JP Morgan says that they see no value in Coinbase's stock and they're putting it down a step, essentially. This is how much of a child JP Morgan is. So JP Morgan's analyst Kenneth Warrington essentially has slashed the price target for Coinbase coin stock to $290 from $399, representing a 27% reduction just days before the company set to report its fourth quarter, essentially 2025 earnings on essentially February 12th, 2026. Despite the significant cut, Warrington essentially maintained an overweight rating, suggesting that he remains bullish on the stock's long-term potential, but is catching up to the recent 50% plunge in the share price. The downward essential revision is driven by a challenging operating environment for digital assets. As the new year essentially begins, JP Morgan identified essentially several key headwinds expected to weigh on the upcoming essentially report. Declining trading volumes, for example, spot crypto trading essentially volumes for the quarter is estimated at roughly $263 billion, a sharp drop compared to essentially the period under 2020, on the active periods of 2025. Stablecoin revenue pressure. The bank modeled lower revenues from USDC, $312 million due to the shrinking circulation and lower growth in reserve rates. Also, the other topics that they were on was one bright spot in the report is the inclusion of a full quarter of revenues from Durbit, the crypto derivatives exchange Coinbase acquired in August 2025. JP Morgan expects Durbit to contribute approximately $117 million to total transaction revenue, helping to partially offset the weakness in spot trading. Analysts also essentially remain focused on whether Coinbase's everything exchange strategy, which essentially emphasizes derivatives, stablecoins, and its layer 2 network base, can even eventually smooth over and pick up in some sort of momentum on the idea that there's so much speculation behind of what this everything think Coinbase app is going to become. So, JP Morgan's analysts are writing spews that Coinbase does have a long-term future, but for now, Coinbase is not really your best bet, is what they're trying to say. I think the interesting part is that Coinbase essentially, walking out of a meeting where all these bank CEOs were sitting at due to the Genius Act, essentially, you know, confrontation situation that was happening of all stablecoins going to be having yields, banks no, CEOs of crypto yes, Coinbase walking out, and now we have JP Morgan coming out and saying, yeah, we don't believe in Coinbase's stock for the short term, long term, sure, it can play along, but short term, there's no future. I think it's just a bit of a childish move from JP Morgan, to be fairly honest. But putting that to one side, Bitcoin, digital gold, grayscale. The longest, essentially, the longest, I've just read the comment section. The longest, what is happening? The longest, essentially, debate has been that Bitcoin is digital gold. And I've said for the longest time, it's really not. And that it's more of a tech stock than it is digital gold. Even though Michael Saylor will tell people it's digital gold, Bitcoin maxis for the longest time have been telling people it's digital gold. Me, I've always been the one that's been saying for years that it's not digital gold. And essentially categorizing as digital gold is just misinformation, because when gold reacts on the upside, Bitcoin doesn't. When tech stocks react on the upside, Bitcoin follows. When tech stocks react on the downside, Bitcoin follows. Therefore, if you're going to categorize it as something, it should be on the lines of a tech stock rather than digital gold. Because if two countries go to war right now, what happens to Bitcoin? Does it go up or does it go down? Bitcoin goes down. If two countries go to war, the market will be shocked. Bitcoin will go down. The altcoins will follow it in suit. Gold, on the other hand, will shoot up when two countries essentially go to war. So that's the difference between an actual gold and then whatever Bitcoin is in that category. So Grayscale has come to the same conclusion now in 2026. They finally caught up to the same conclusion that maybe Bitcoin isn't digital gold and is actually a tech stock. Bitcoin is a tech trade for now, not digital gold, says Grayscale. Grayscale Investments has released a new research report today arguing that Bitcoin's current market behavior aligns more closely with high growth technology than its essentially long tutored narrative as digital gold. According to the asset manager, while the long term goal for Bitcoin essentially remains serving as a decentralized store of value, its 2026 price action is being dictated by the same macroeconomic factors that drive the Nasdaq 100, namely globally essentially liquidity, interest rate expectations, and risk appetite. The report notes that Bitcoin's correlation with tech stocks has surged as institutional adoption has deepened. This institutionalization means that instead of acting as a hedge against market chaos, Bitcoin is frequently being tested as a high beta version of the tech stocks. When liquidity tightens, as seen in the recent Federal Reserve maneuvers, investors tend to sell Bitcoin essentially alongside other speculative assets. Grayscale's analysts suggest that essentially that for Bitcoin to truly decouple and earn the digital gold essentially label, it must show consistent resilience during periods of broad equity essentially market stress and a trend that has not yet been seen or fully taken in any sort of a way. Despite the tech trade classification, Grayscale remains bullish on Bitcoin's structural growth over the years to come. The firm argues that being a tech correlated asset isn't a weakness for Bitcoin, but rather a reflection of Bitcoin's role as a fundamental infrastructure for a new digital financial system. As the market moves deeper into 2026, Grayscale expects this correlation to persist until the asset reaches a higher level of global penetration and regulatory essential maturity, at which point its unique properties and a non-sovereign reserve asset may finally allow it to behave as a true safe haven. I'm just happy somebody as intelligent as essentially Grayscale has finally come forward and said, look, yeah, Bitcoin's not really digital gold. It's more of a tech stock. It's never been digital gold. We don't know why anybody named it digital gold. I'm just happy somebody as intelligent as Grayscale has came forward and said this. I've been saying this for absolute years. And I've always given the example essentially of Bitcoin and gold. Two countries go to war. What happens to gold? What happens to Bitcoin? Bitcoin goes down, gold goes up. So how can they be in the same category? One's a safe haven, one isn't. One's a risk-off asset, one isn't. And I'm genuinely happy Grayscale came forward and said this. And again, it's not a bad thing as a tech stock, but at least it's in the right category now. Now, moving on, essentially from Grayscale finally categorizing Bitcoin, at the level they are in the right category, to CZ is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. Before we talk about CZ, let's go inside the comment section. Let's see what's happening there, and then we'll straight into the next news. So let's see where we're at. Ian, thank you so much for the £20 donation. Absolutely amazing. Hold firm if you can. Bye, 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 bye. Let's go, CMF. Let's go, Ian. Ian, honestly, thank you so much for the £20 donation. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, brother. I can see a lot of laughing emojis. What's happening inside the comment section? Share the live back on YouTube. Let's go. Bless you, Miles. Thank you so much. We all, we the CMF can't be stopped, Miles. Let's go, my friend. Let's go, Scott. Johnny, good to see how you're doing. What up, Miles and CMF? The show must go on. Let's go. Bless you. Thank you so much, Joe. Ray, good to see how you're doing. Maybe you caught the Epstein flu from the USA. Lol, the USA, you are probably right. Thanks, Scott. Miles. Johnny, you don't have to put my whole name every time you want to ask me a question. You could just ask me the question. When can we expect a bull run? Johnny, for the time being, I would say consider variable change. Miles H-Bond XLM have been quite quiet lately. Any word on either of them? No word whatsoever on either of them. Sleeping Giants is the best I can say. Hi, Miles CMF Peg. Good to see you. How you doing? XLM XLP XDC H-Bro. Let's go, Scott and SHX. Ian, once again, thanks so much for your £20 donation, brother. 39k incoming is what Ronnie's suggesting for Bitcoin. Ray, let's go. Ronnie rocks. Hi, how you doing? Hi, Miles. Do you think? What do you think about Doge and Shiba? No one seems to be talking about them much. Doge was listed among the elite 8. What's my essential opinion on Shiba and Doge? As I've said in the past, not very fond of meme coins whatsoever. But if there was any meme coins to survive everything thrown at them, I've always said this. Three, I would say, that would survive. There's three meme coins that would survive out of the hundreds of thousands of meme coins out there. I've always said Dogecoin would survive because of Elon Musk's support for Dogecoin. Once that support goes away, it's pretty much doomed for Dogecoin. I said Shiba will survive due to the huge community behind it, and they did some incredible contract ones with essentially sort of the buy firm as well, which was an interesting play on Shiba Inu. But also Shiba Inu does get used quite a lot for washing up liquid, if you know what I mean. And also the other one is Lunacy. There's still a huge community behind it. These three are pretty much the only survivors I could see. There might be a few more, but the ones that I see surviving. Welcome Lang. XRP family, if you hold, you won't go. Facts. Let's go. Paul, hey Miles, I asked this before, but I missed your answer. Do you think we will be out of the woods and have a three-figure XRP by this time next year? Thanks. Paul, the best thing I could say is that if we get the correct regulations in place, if we get a Clarity Act, we are able to, within weeks or months, go into utility. There's some more gray areas. Sky's the limit, I would say. I say PEP and unPEP. Ronnie Rocks. I agree. PEP could have a future as well for also washing up liquid scenarios. Miles, what's going on with this bull market? When do you think stuff is going to start to boom? Does Trump ignite it when he fully passes the crypto laws? Good question. Regarding Trump passing essentially, and this comes from Taft. Regarding Trump passing crypto laws, will that ignite the crypto market space? Yes, depending on which law. A Clarity Act? Hell yes. Essentially a Genius Act, it's only beneficial for stablecoins, to be fairly honest. And even that first Genius Act we passed, it's now just going back and forth again to add to it or edit to it, because the banks are not happy that stablecoins are giving yields, essentially something that the banks can offer but won't offer because they're too greedy. Let's just be honest with ourselves. I have banker friends, and they do tend to get greedy. But and regarding essentially Trump igniting the fire with regulations, yes, that will happen. Would that be overnight, straight away? No. The moment a regulation gets passed and Trump is able to sign it into law about a week after, it will take between weeks and months before essentially the pickup happens inside the market space. Miles, what? Okay, no, we are here. Hello again, Miles, and everyone. Good to see you, Auntie. Auntie, good to see you. How you doing? I say Pep regarding Sheba. BTC is in trouble. The Jeffrey Epstein connection, the crypto world beginning to spew out on it, and somewhere I read today that Satoshi may not be a person but a group. What say you, Miles? What do I say to that? Regarding Satoshi being a group or a person or an entity or some sort of a government organization, it could be either one. Jeffrey Epstein's link with Bitcoin is an interesting one. Do I believe that Jeffrey Epstein is the founder of Bitcoin? No. Do I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had a hand in Bitcoin, in pushing it essentially in the government or within institutions? Yes. I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein had a hand in Bitcoin. He definitely profited from Bitcoin, in my point of view. He definitely pushed Bitcoin, upscaled Bitcoin, and pushed it upon institutions and banks and governments. Yes, I do believe that 100%. So, is there a link between Jeffrey Epstein and Bitcoin? Yes, there definitely is. Obviously, we've seen it through the emails, how Jeffrey Epstein, has this big future for Bitcoin. And essentially, I'm seeing where, big future for Bitcoin. He hates Ripple and Stellar because of the competition they're bringing towards against Bitcoin and so on. Everybody saw the emails. So I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was intelligent enough to create essentially Bitcoin, but he definitely had a hand in Bitcoin on pushing and upscaling it around the world. 100% in my opinion. So that link between Bitcoin and essentially Jeffrey Epstein is not really a good link. But as I said previously, look, Bitcoin maxis. If you're watching this, Bitcoin maxis, and you want to jump out because you don't want to be part of some sort of a network that's used by the other side of the internet, the other 95% of the internet people don't get to see, just jump into XRP. Honestly, think of it like this. The guy that's known to be a PDF to the entire world, supported Bitcoin's network, helped push Bitcoin's network, saw Bitcoin as the running, essentially racing horse for himself. Just jump into XRP. The guy hated XRP. I mean, that should be more of a push for you to go, okay, maybe XRP is the better option. At least it's not linked to a pedophile. At least it's not linked to a PDF. And that's essentially, it's not essentially pushed by a PDF person. Now, Miles, what do you think about the crypto Solana? What do I think about Solana? In the past, Solana had its ups and downs. It, disconnected itself about 11 times before it could get things right. And now it's better, essentially. They don't have the mishaps that they used to have in the past. They did create a Solana phone, which they ended up selling quite a bit only because they weren't selling at the beginning. And then they decided to give out free meme coin money on it, which boosted sales. But then after 2 years, they said whoever brought our first phone, we're going to cut off essentially their network updates, which I think is a slap in the face for anybody that brought the first generation Solana phone. Even basic Android companies at least give minimum 5 years of updates. And I'm talking about the most unknown Android phone company out there who would still give at least 5 years of updates. For Solana's phone to give 2 years, it was a slap in the face to anybody that bought the first generation phone. Putting their phone network situation to one side and their network mishap situations, they're doing better. It was also able to raise the amount of money it raised due to the meme coins. Meme coins was essentially what helped Solana boost itself. If meme coins weren't there, then Solana would have never got the upscale it had, the momentum it had back in the day. If meme coins didn't exist, let's just be honest with ourselves. That's why Solana got the boost essentially. And the only reason Solana phones sold was because of meme coins. Solana's entire creation was boosted by the meme coin sector. If the meme coin sector didn't exist, there'll be no such thing as Solana phone sales. There'll be essentially, Solana will not be sitting in the top 10. Let's just be honest with ourselves. So, other than that, now it's moved away from the Solana, it's moved away from the meme coin category. It's, creating its second phone, which I wouldn't personally buy it. I wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole because the way they treated their first customers, that's just common sense at that point. But now it's a bit better, is what I would say. Pep better than cheaper. I'll put the both in the same category, I'll be honest. Can you see another dip below £1 as a result of the Trump antics reveal? Yes, 100%. The whole situation in the Middle East right now is, I just don't understand one thing. Why is Trump taking his sweet time with the Middle East situation, with Iran, Israel, and the US? Trump has the about 90% of the US army on the Persian Gulf. In the Persian Gulf, 90% of the US army is pretty much anchored there. For what? If Trump is not going to be attacking Iran, then he's wasting everybody's time. He's embarrassing himself in front of the whole world. Just attack Iran. As I said this many times, I'm Persian myself, I'm Iranian myself. I don't understand why he's taking his time. The tactic of surprise has pretty much went away about a week ago, because 90% of the American army is sitting on the Persian Gulf. I don't understand why Trump is taking his sweet time. He should just attack the Iranian government, get rid of the Iranian government, so that we can finally move on. Because if he's not going to attack, then why the hell is he there? Why isn't he embarrassing? Essentially, he's embarrassing himself in front of the whole world. He made these incredible speeches of he's behind the Iranian people, go to the streets and fight for your rights, which is exactly what the Iranian people did. The Iranian people took it upon Trump's word, and they went in the streets and they fought for their lives, and they lost their lives. And then here is Trump trying to make a deal with the Iranian government, somebody that cannot be trusted and should not be trusted, because every deal the Iranian government has ever made, they've backtracked on it. They're not people that anybody should essentially even give the second of their day any oxygen at the same table. So I don't understand what he's doing. Nobody understands what Trump is doing. He's wasting everybody's time right now, I'll be very honest. I hope he takes action. I hope he wipes out the Iranian government. Honestly, I hope he wipes out the Iranian government as soon as possible, because this antic of taking its sweet time is bad for everything, including the market space. It's bad, honestly, for the Iranian people. It's bad for his aura in the whole world. He's known as this boss aura. Where is it? And the crypto market space is just staggered. The stock market is just staggered. Everybody's waiting is Trump going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Why is 90% of the US army on the Persian Gulf if he's not going to do anything? This is just all weighing in. Look, this is what I think he should do. One, Trump should wipe out the Iranian government. Two, restore essentially that back to its people. Give the Iranian land back to its people, back to the Shah of Iran. Three, come back to the US and get these crypto regulations passed. Honestly, get these crypto regulations passed. Get essentially the Democrats and the Republican Party to essentially agree on the crypto regulations. Trump is acting like his presidency is going to be lasting 25 years. He only has a margin of essentially limited time to end this Iranian situation of the Iranian government and pass the crypto laws. But he's acting like he's got 25 years as a president. He hasn't got 25 years. His time's running out and he needs to move quicker. This sluggish pace makes zero sense for anybody. I'll be very honest. Makes zero sense for anybody. So I personally think that his antics situation, he needs to move it up. He needs to speed it up. Because everybody's had enough. I'll be very honest. Everybody's had enough, especially with this Bitcoin situation as well, where the entire crypto party, the entire crypto market is just following Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up, we go up. Bitcoin comes down, we go down. Everybody's tired of it. We want crypto regulations. We want to decouple. We want utility. I mean, we're not asking for much. So I don't know what it is, but he's taking his sweet time with everything. He's genuinely acting like he has 25 years to his presidency. Miles, so that's what I think regarding the whole situation of the antics that are going on right now with Trump. It makes no sense. Patience is the password to financial future. I agree, yeah. Jeffrey Epstein's supposed connection in intelligence areas gives me thoughts top believe that the CIA connection with this PTC. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Good evening, Miles. Good to see you, Manny. How you doing? I am saving a few dollars just in case XRP dips below $1. I'm going to essentially pounce on it, although I do not think that it will dip below 135 again, or $1.35 again. Fair enough. Let's go XRP, share the live, let's go, money, let's go. Miles, on the issue, I totally agree. We have enough strength there to do whatever we want, and dollar is nothing, and there is nothing any country can do about it. I agree, facts. Because Iran will destroy Lizzie, Izzy. Free Iran and get our military servicemen back home and respect the Iranian people that lost their lives. Facts. Let's go, Scott. I'd like to buy XRP for 2026. Where would you advise me to buy and store them? I am in France and I already have a Tangent account. What strategy should I adapt if I want to separate my 2024 crypto holdings? Carl, you messaged me and I still haven't got back to you. After this live show, you are the first person I'm going to reply back to on the messages. And regarding, essentially, if you want to buy XRP, you could go through MEX Exchange. And regarding, wallet, Trusthold or Tangent is good to go. But I'll definitely, you know what, Carl? Instead, I'll just give you a call after this live show, and I'll help you with your problem. No problem. Question: does Russia economically stand to gain anything from this event with Iran? Economically, Russia, no, it doesn't stand to gain anything. If Iran's government falls, which I hope they do very soon, Russia gains negativity, the best way to put it. Because then Iran, the new Iran, when the regime falls, and the new Iran under the Shah, Javid Shah, will essentially be providing gas to Europe, which means then Europe wouldn't be relying on gas when it comes from Russia, which means that Russia wouldn't have the money or the fundings that it would need to essentially go up against Ukraine, which means the Ukrainian-Russian war will end. Everything in this world is technically boiling down to the Iranian government. The reason why Russia is capable of fighting essentially Ukraine is because Iran is supplying them with cheap weaponry. The reason why essentially Europe is still reliant on essentially Russian gas, so means that Russia is still essentially Europe is buying gas from Russia and funding Ukraine at the same time, which is the most stupidest thing ever because that means Europe is funding both sides of the world, a never-ending war essentially. Iran could provide them essentially everything. The random essentially protesting you are seeing in the world, the random protesting you are seeing in this world right now, the violent random protesting you are seeing around the world is all funded by the Iranian government. Everything that you see that is negative in this world, it could be from the Middle East, it could be in Europe, it could be essentially in in the Asian market space. Everything negative you see in this world is funded by the Iranian government. And everybody thinks the US is the bad guy here. Everybody thinks it's Israel that's the bad guy here. Believe me, you haven't met the bad guy when it comes to the Iranian government. I can guarantee you that. You haven't met the bad guy yet unless you go head to head with the Iranian government. Every single negative thing you see in this world is because of the Iranian government. It's because they're like an octopus. They have their tentacles everywhere. And the faster the Iranian government gets wiped out, believe me, 90% of this world will be resolved. Does Russia, what about China? China also relies on Iran as well. The reason why China is sitting at number 2 economically is because for about 46 years, China has been receiving free oil pretty much from Iran. And in return, China gives crap products back to the Iranian government. For 46 years, China was receiving free oil pretty much and free gas from Iran. As much as they could take, they're taking. Same goes with Russia. That's why economically both these countries were standing still, and why China is sitting at number 2. China would not be sitting at number 2 if it wasn't getting free oil for 46 years from Iran. China and Russia, this is why I'm saying 99% of the world's problems will go away by removing the Iranian government. Free Iran, do not take any oil from the Iranian countries. I'll be honest, take some. If America helps the Iranian people, take as much oil as you want, America. You're more than welcome to take it. Because right now, Russia and China are taking it for free. Why not America take some oil as well? Honestly, take some. Facts, respect for the Iranian people. Would have thought Trump would take action by now for sure. I agree. Trump needs to do whatever he plans to do near before the midterms. Many of his Republican supporters are in trouble, and he will not have the support to free reign to do much. I'm just saying. Facts. All facts. Let's go, Ray. We need to be ready for arrival of CBDCs in our lives, hence the need to prepare in managing our cryptocurrencies and the purpose of my previous question. Yes, keeping your cryptocurrencies on a Tangent wallet is the most securest option without a doubt, especially in the CBDC world. Cold storage wallet is your best friend in a CBDC world. Anybody that tells you that essentially keeping your money on crypto exchanges is more secure is the most stupidest person on planet Earth. The securest place for your crypto assets are cold storage wallets by far. Then it will boil down to hot wallets, and then it will be essentially crypto exchanges. Crypto exchanges are nowhere near as safe as essentially as cold storage wallet, especially in the CBDC world. Liberate Iran. Let's go, Stormy. Thank you so much for saying that. I agree. Trump needs to free the Iranian people. Let's go. XRP. I used Uphold essentially or Coinbase. First, let's go. So based on what you said, do you think Putin has hand in holding up Trump from making a move on Iran? Yes and no, is what I would say to that. Miles, do you justify Palestinians losing their lives? It's all to do with Israel. No. The reason why Palestinians lost their lives is because of the Iranian government. It's because of the Iranian government. Because they meddled in things. Palestine had no hope going up against Israel. Honestly, Palestine had zero chance of going up against Israel. And then the Iranian government funded essentially the H group in Palestine and made them attack essentially Israel, which then Israel essentially rebutted on that attack. If Iran didn't fund the H group in Palestine and essentially, to attack Israel, there wouldn't be so many deaths right now in Palestine. The reason why Palestinian people died is because of the Iranian government, because the Iranian government funded a terror group in Palestine to attack Israel, which then Israel retaliated with, and so many people died. It's not Israel. The problem is the Iranian government. It's because they funded a terror group. Miles, there are too many bad actors around the world. Trust me, there are things I can never say regarding the Iranian government on live, especially. In person, I could tell you all day long, but in on live, I can never tell you. But you, like, let's just say the Iranian government puts the devil to shame. I just don't get the essence of the whole conflict, to be honest. Now, moving on from all of that. H risk life and limb to liberate the people from racist land thieving. Susie, there's more to that story than meets the eye. Now, moving on from all of that, CZ is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. CZ essentially expresses skepticism over Bitcoin's supercycle. So, in Q4 2025, we talked about a supercycle where Grayscale CEO was talking about a supercycle, CZ talked about a supercycle, Brad from Ripple essentially talked about a supercycle. Many crypto CEOs, all of them talked about a supercycle in the crypto space in 2026. CZ is backtracking on the supercycle situation, but not in a way where you think. He's backtracking due to this. CZ, the founder and former CEO of Binance, has voiced a cautious, essentially, outlook regarding the widely discussed Bitcoin supercycle. In a new guest post and a series of remarks, despite the general institutionalization optimism surrounding Bitcoin in 2026, CZ admitted he's not confident that the market has entered a permanent upward-only phase. His skepticism centers on the historical, essentially, movements of crypto markets and the potential for regulatory and economic black swans that current narrative essentially may be underestimating, according to CZ. While the entrance of spot ETFs and Wall Street giants has undeniably essentially altered the market structure and has also introduced new vulnerabilities. The cycle, essentially discipline, still exists, CZ said. He argues that human psychology and market mechanics, greed, leverage, and essentially dewelging have not changed. He believes that the 4-year cycle driven by halving remains a psychological anchor that the market will eventually revert to regardless of institutional inflows. Institutional concentration risk. He warned that having a few large entities control a significant portion of Bitcoin supply through ETFs creates a centralized point of failure for the price action. A single shift in institutional sentiment or regulatory crackdown on these specific essentially vehicles could trigger a more violent correction than the previous essentially retail-led cycles. Macro essentially headwinds. CZ highlighted that Bitcoin is no longer trading in a vacuum with its increased essentially correlation to the tech sector, the tech trade mentioned by Grayscale essentially. Bitcoin is at the mercy of the Federal Reserve's liquidity maneuvers. If global liquidity drives up the combat persistent inflation, the supercycle could easily be derailed. CZ's remarks serve as a reality check for the market that has recently been essentially buoyed by aggressive price targets from firms like Bernstein and Standard Chartered, by arguing that investors to maintain a healthy level of skepticism and focus on the risk management. CZ is reminding the industry that while Bitcoin's long-term trajectory may be upward, the path is unlikely to be smooth and uninterrupted supercycle that many bulls are currently pricing in. The White House showdown. Crypto firms, essentially, and major banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, are locked in a heated also showdown at the White House over stablecoins right now as well, in terms of stablecoin rewards. Binance's SAFU pivot. Binance recently essentially converted its SAFU emergency fund reserves entirely into Bitcoin, purchasing $100 million in Bitcoin to provide more robust backdrop essentially for their users. Jim Cramer is essentially in reverse effect. Markets noted that Bitcoin's slide below $70,000 followed a bullish call from Jim Cramer to essentially $82,000, once again highlighting the essentially the inverse movement of Jim Cramer. Geopolitical pressures persist. US-Iran tensions and a surge in liquidations have kept Bitcoin volatile, preventing a clean break essentially towards its 2025 high. So, according to CZ, these are the factors that's stopping Bitcoin from its supercycle. One, people are still stuck up on the whole Bitcoin cycle where Bitcoin has to go through halving, then money goes into Bitcoin, then money goes into essentially Ethereum, then money goes into altcoins, and then we're into a bear market, and the same thing repeats. CZ is trying to tell everybody to stop thinking like that and move away from that psychological human behavior, just to move away from that thought. The entire cycle situation ended a long time ago with ETFs. One, that's the first thing he's telling people of why he's not expecting a super cycle right now when it comes to Bitcoin. Two, he said we're not still getting the regulations we want inside the market space. All we're getting is just debates between banks and crypto companies. Three, he said the situation with US versus Iran right now is also, putting Bitcoin at a limbo price where it's just not moving. It will go down and come back to where it was, and it won't move and go down and come back to where it was. In other words, Bitcoin is staggered because they don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East, because for some reason Trump won't attack even though 90% of his army is there. So that's also putting pressure on Bitcoin, a 24/7 market space as well. My other thing that I would add as a fourth one is that we just need to decouple, honestly. The regulations, the faster we get regulations, the faster we can decouple. So at least we have less, pressure on the altcoins because of whatever Bitcoin decides to do next. But these are situations right now holding the market space back. One, people still have this psychological behavior of believing that this 4-year cycle still exists. It doesn't. Two, essentially the market space being staggered with the Iran and US situation of, are they going to attack? Are they not going to attack? That's keeping the market essentially staggered, is the way to put it. And three, the headbutting situation when it comes to the regulations. Now, moving on from that to something relatable to what we just discussed regarding CZ, headbutting, and regulations. Crypto firms outnumbers banks in heated White House showdown over your money. A high stakes confrontation is unfolding at the White House. as crypto industry leaders and traditional banking executives clash over the future of stablecoin regulations and yield distributions. According to a guest post by BSCN, the meeting essentially aimed at resolving the deadlock over the Clarity Act, so crypto representatives significantly outnumber their banking counterparts, signaling a massive shift in political influence of the digital asset sector. The core of the dispute in the stablecoin reward model, crypto firms essentially are pushing for the right to pass interest income from treasury backed reserves directly to the stablecoin holders. In other words, yield on your stablecoins, similar to a high yield savings account. Traditional banks, led by giants like JP Morgan, Bank of America, are opposing this right now, warning of a potential $500 billion exodus of deposits from legacy banking systems into the crypto ecosystem. Banks essentially argue that such a shift would destabilize the financial sector and reduce their ability to provide loans, while crypto advocates frame the move as essential for fair market competition and consumer benefits. I can see where both sides of the arguments are coming from, where the banks won't be able to give out loans if they don't have enough essentially amount of money coming in that they could trade on. That's fair enough. And that's bad for the market space as well. But I also do believe in fair competition when it comes to the financial sector, when it comes to the tech sector, the AI sector, no matter what sector it may be, I believe in fair competition. If you can provide something better than what's already in essentially motion, then give it a fair competition because it might actually work out better in the long run. In the short term, it will cause disruptions. It will be a shock towards the market space. But in the long run, it actually might be better for the market space. That's why I believe in a fair competition, and I believe essentially, and 100%, I'm standing on the crypto side, not on the bankers' side, where the banks are saying, we don't have enough money to give yields. We can't essentially give out loans if people start taking their monies out the banks and so on. I feel like the banks had too much power for too long, and that a fair competition needs to be introduced. Market impact. The legislative gridlock combined with the risk off mood from US and Iran tensions and recent Fed liquidity injections has contributed to Bitcoin's inability to break above $80,000. They're now essentially getting on the topic. This is JP Morgan, essentially, Bank of America and so on, telling you guys that, their analysts and so on, that Bitcoin is struggling to break all-time highs because of US and Iran situations right now. Do you see why I'm telling you Trump needs to move faster? Binance's string move also in a related development, which we just recently talked about. Binance also jumping on the bandwagon saying, yeah, this Iran and essentially US situation is putting a lot of pressure on Bitcoin right now. Even though that the Fed has injected the market space with $8.3 billion, Bitcoin didn't move an inch because of the Iranian US situation, because it's at a limbo where Trump is just not doing anything. He's standing still for some reason. And also, Jim Cramer, as usual, giving the opposite side of the news. But, that was not really the big issue. Jim Cramer was always going to be there. But the two big issues are the banks and the crypto CEOs headbutting each other and Trump standing still for some reason. Now, moving on from what Bank of America and JP Morgan had to say regarding the situation right now to, let me drink some water. That was the coffee. This is the water. Sometimes it's nothing like water. Congress is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. Congress targets World Liberty Financial in new probe over UAE linked investment claims. So, on one side of the spectrum, we have essentially the Republicans and Democrats headbutting each other on crypto regulations. On the other side of the spectrum, we have banks, CEOs of banks and CEOs of crypto companies headbutting each other as well. And Congress decided to take it upon themselves not to resolve the situation, but to add more fuel to the fire. Congress has decided to essentially investigate Trump over UAE and World Liberty Financial link. World Liberty Financial, the crypto project closely associated with the Trump family, has come under intense congressional scrutiny. A new probe has been launched into following allegations that the project received significant backing from entities like the United Arab Emirates. This investigation adds a layer of regulatory and political complexity to a project that was already under the spotlight due to his high profile ties and his ambitious goals of revolutionizing decentralized finance. Key details of the congressional probe include foreign influence concerns. Lawmakers are essentially, especially investigating whether the alleged UAE linked investments constitutes as an improper foreign influence on the project tied to the US presidential family. This raises potential conflict of interest and national security concerns that could impact the project's ability to operate within the US. Congress wants to maybe essentially kick out World Liberty Financial from the US. Complex and transparency. The probe is also examining World Liberty Financial's compliance and existing financial regulations, particularly those concerning transparency in fundraising and investor disclosures, and lawmakers are seeking clarity on the origins of the project's capital and whether all necessary regulatory filings were properly handled. Political fallout. Given the direct association with Donald Trump and his family, the investigation is being viewed through a highly political lens. Supporters argue that it's politically motivated witch hunt, while critics maintain that projects, essentially with such close ties to political figures, must be held to the highest standards of transparency and legal compliance. Look, I call BS on all of this. Sure, the World Liberty Financial Project has, funding from the UAE or essentially even CZ, you could pretty much say. At this point, I couldn't care less. Honestly, I couldn't care less. All I want is crypto regulations passed. If anybody who's a regular citizen in the US cares about Trump, who is a billionaire making a little bit more money, seriously, get a life. Honestly, there's no easier way to put it. If you care about a billionaire making a little bit more money, get a life. Because the only thing that we should be focused on is Congress trying to pass crypto regulations or putting some sort of pressure on Democrats or Republicans to come to some sort of a conclusion, or put pressure on the banks and the CEO and the crypto CEOs on getting the crypto regulations passed, because that's all we care about. I honestly couldn't care less. And I think everybody stands with me when I say this. We honestly couldn't care less if the Trump family, who is a billionaire, earns a little bit more money. I couldn't care less because it makes zero difference to my life. It makes zero difference to anybody else's life out there if you're a regular citizen, to be fairly honest. It makes zero difference to your life. So why would you care? Why would Congress care? If Congress cared about essentially misconduct when it came to trading, maybe look into Pocahontas. Elizabeth Warren, look at her portfolio. Maxine Waters, look at her portfolio. If you really cared about misconduct when it came to trading and essentially misinformation or essentially under the table deals, maybe you could have cared when they were making essentially so much amount of money that it just doesn't add up mathematically. How are they beating hedge funds still? But you don't care about that. All you care about is the Trump family. The Trump family are billionaires. I genuinely couldn't care less. I couldn't care less if Trump's family made $10 more million, $100 million more, $200 million, because it makes zero difference to my life. Do you know what does make a difference to my life? A Clarity Act getting passed. Do you know what makes a difference to my life or anybody else's life out there? A Genius Act getting actually passed properly on paper. Do you know what makes a difference to our life? Utility for the crypto space. That's what makes a difference to our lives. But Trump earning another $10 million, $200 million, $100 million, it makes zero difference to my life if he gets investigated or not. Zero. And it makes zero difference to your life as well out there. If you're somebody that cares about, going after Trump and taking Trump down because he's making $10 more million, even though he's a billionaire, get a life. Genuinely get a life or get a job at that site. Honestly, anybody from Congress is wasting their time on this witch hunt going after Trump. Even if you do succeed to find a link between Trump and the UAE on the funding, what difference does it make it to my life? It makes zero difference, or to anybody else's. We want a Clarity Act, we want an actual Genius Act, and we want utility. You make those things happen, then we care. But the other things, we couldn't care less. Genuinely couldn't care less. You're not impressing anybody, Congress. Now, honestly, if I became a politician, I would have crushed it. I'm in the wrong line of work. They think, politicians are scared of Trump. Imagine if I was a politician. Now, Seattle Securities is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. Before we talk about Seattle Securities, let's go into the comment section. Let's see what's happening there. And then we go straight into the next news. Just so I'm on the same page. Everybody agrees with me? Honestly, if you agree with me, put a thumbs up, put a fire emoji, put agree inside the comment section that you only care about Clarity Act, Genius Act, and utility when it comes to the crypto space, and that you couldn't care less about Trump's World Liberty Financial Project getting investigated and essentially Trump making another $10 million even though he's a billionaire. If you agree with me, put an agree, thumbs up, whatever you want inside the comment section, just so I know we are on the same page, that all we care about is Utility Clarity Act. Couldn't care less about anything else Congress wants to investigate and waste everybody's time on. Just so we're on the same page. And while you do that, let me go inside the comment section and see what the comments were there. Please tell the CMF that Gemini Crypto Exchange will stop working in Europe and UK on the 1st of April, not April Fools. Make sure you take out all your assets by the 1st. I just read out your comment and everybody knows, and I also explained that yesterday as well. Well, thank you, Joe, for reminding me again. Hello again, everyone. Thomas, good to see you. How you doing? Currency evaluation soon. I think it may start with the record dinner. World Financial Coin, baby. Absolutely correct. Well said, Miles. Let's go, Jason. Let's go, Thompson. Lol, trying to become a trillionaire myself. Let's go, Thompson. Miles for president. Let's go, Jason. Cook, Miles. Cook. Let's go. Definitely agree, bro. Let's go, Ray. Let's go, Thompson. Agree, Carl. Let's go. You got cannibalistic lunatics out here eating kids, but they can only seem to go after Trump. Facts. Let's go, Stormy. You're bang on as usual, Miles. Let's go, Joe. Love your passion, Miles. Let's go, T. Let's go, Susie. Miles for president for United States. We will change the constitution. 3/4 majority states. Let's go, Scott. Let's go, Funky. Let's go, Ray. Spot on, Miles. Let's go. Michael, let's go. Miles, talk about setting up an LLC. I hear so much about that from influencers. Regarding LLCs, I would wait for other companies to introduce it rather than going for influencer LLCs. It's not the only way, is what I would say. Just hold on still. Let me look into it more because I wouldn't recommend it in any sort of way right now. I don't recommend anything that technically, So it's not something I would say go towards right now. There are many reasons which I can't explain on live. Bitstamp also asking for your tax dollars. That's true, yes. Matt, let's go. I'd rather pay my taxes and not have to go through so much. Fair enough. Let's go, Matt. Now, Seattle Securities and ARK Invest back Layer Zero for launch of a zero blockchain. Iran attack Iran. He'll figure out a way to make it as an idea to shut the Strait of Hormuz. Well, I hope he does attack. Look, if Iran shuts down the Strait of Hormuz, then America has no choice but to attack. Because closing the Strait of Hormuz, it basically means you're cutting the supply of the world for oil. So if Iran is stupid enough to do that, which they are, if the Iranian government is stupid enough, just want to put a differentiate on that. Iranian people are intelligent. Iranian government and anybody that supports them are essentially the idiots. So the Iranian government, who are the actual morons in every equation, if the Iranian government closes the Strait of Hormuz, then it's pretty much game over for the Iranian government because not only would the US attack, Europe will join into that attack as well. He'll figure out a way to make it. There's an idea to shut the Strait of Hormuz yet. What about the trust route miles? What about the trust route miles? Wouldn't suggest that either for now. I have some lawyer friends that I'm going back and forward with right now. On trying to find the proper structure to go forward. And I will let you know more in the CMF as well, let you know more. Definitely. White Rose says, so the United States is damned if they attack and damned if they don't. they're better off attacking than not attacking. I'll be very honest. If the US attacks Iran, it works out better for the rest of the world for centuries to come. Keeping the Iranian government alive causes nothing but disruption for eternity. But removing the Iranian government will genuinely solve 99% of this world's problems because it all stems from Iran. Every single problem you've seen pretty much in this world stems from the Iranian government. There's a list as long as the eye cannot see. Now, Seattle Securities is what we talk about next on tonight's live. Seattle Securities and ARK Invest back Layer Zero for a launch of Zero blockchain. So you heard it here first. If you're thinking about, researching another blockchain project out there, Seattle Securities and ARK Invest are going into business together, and we could be expecting a new blockchain called Zero blockchain. Seattle Securities and ARK Invest were announced as leaders or backers for the Layer Zero as it officially launched its native one, essentially blockchain named Zero. The launch marks a major streak evolution for Layer Zero, moving beyond its roots as an interoperable essentially protocol to providing a dedicated zero network designed especially for institutional grade global markets. According to reports from CoinDesk today, the block, essentially the launch of Zero, is accompanied by massive partnerships with Google Cloud, serving as the primary validator, and DTCC, and aimed at integrating traditional financial settlements with on-chain efficiency. So if you want a new project to look into, Zero. It's not recommended that you should buy it, and to be fairly honest, I don't know if they're making it available to the retail section or not for the time being. If it is available to the retail section, it's still not, a buy in any sort of a way. It's a project to look into. Don't buy it if you don't understand it. I don't know fully much about it either. It was just announced today from CoinDesk regarding these partnership announcements. So look into it if it's something interesting, something you want to go for. If you don't want to go for it, don't go for it either. Look into it, see if it's interesting or not. Buy a long shot. XRP is still the one. If you have spare, go for it. If you don't go for it. And look into it first. Not financial advice whatsoever. And full disclosure, I don't own any Zero at all. Now, just wanted to share that with you if you wanted to look into a new project. Now, moving on from that to billionaire Ray Dalio, who warns that no privacy CBDCs will come. So, we haven't talked about CBDCs in a long time on this live show. And the last time we talked about CBDCs, I scared everyone on the future of CBDCs, which was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where I told everyone if you want to know where your country is headed, look at China, because whatever China does, it's pretty much next for your country. China with digital IDs, every country is about to be introducing digital IDs. China introduced censorship, every country is looking into censorship. And the UK, they're very heavy on censorship, to be fairly honest. China did CBDCs first. Every country started looking at the CBDCs. Pretty much, if you want to know where your country is headed, just look at China's roadmap or blueprint, and that's pretty much where your country is headed in the long run as well, is what I said about 3 years ago, before any country announced CBDCs or digital IDs or anything to do with that matter. And billionaire investor of Bridgewater, essentially, and Bridgewater Associates founder Ray Dalio has come out today and has issued a sobering, essentially, warning regarding the rise of central bank digital currency CBDCs now. In a recent interview, Dalio argued that while Bitcoin and private cryptocurrencies offer an alternative to traditional fiat, governments will ultimately favor CBDCs because they provide unparalleled levels of oversight and control. Well, yes, of course. That part is just common sense. Dalio warns that these programmable currencies will likely lack the privacy features of physical cash, allowing central banks to monitor every transaction in real time, a capability he believes will be used for both tax enforcement and broader social and economic engineering. Facts, social credit systems is a thing. Everybody made fun of the idea of social credit systems where if you buy something healthy, it's positive one, you buy something unhealthy, it's negative one. That's not a laughable matter. That's actually, what's happening. It was a study test that was done in China. Dalio's perspective is that CBDCs are not just a technological upgrade, but a tool for monetary sovereignty. In an era of high debt and geopolitical instability, he suggests that for most citizens, the choice won't be between Bitcoin and a CBDC, but between the convenience of state backed digital wallets and the increasing difficulty of using physical cash. For Delio, the no privacy nature of these essentially future currencies is the foregone conclusion, as governments will be unwilling to see the data and control that a fully digital traceable economy provides. In a significant move towards this launch, essentially, just adding on Delio's essentially point of view of the future of CBDCs and the no privacy situation and how fast the world is moving towards CBDCs. In the EU, there was a vote on CBDCs. So this is what happened. In a significant move towards the launch of the European CBDCs, the Digital Euro project won a decisive vote of 420 against 158, backing in a recent European essentially Parliament straw poll. This essentially result indicates that while the debate remains heated, there is a clear legislative majority in the favor of moving the project into the next phase. The European Union has just moved into the next phase of CBDCs. The poll highlights a deepening divide within the EU's right wing factions, where some lawmakers view the digital euros as a tool for financial sovereignty against American payment giants, while others echo Ray Dalio's concern about state surveillance and the potential for a banking run on traditional commercial deposits. Here are some bullet points on all essentially what's happening, on what basis of essentially Rio, the billionaire, is suggesting, on the privacy issues of essentially CBDCs and how fast the world is moving, and the other basis of, the world is actually moving rapidly fast towards CBDCs and essentially what the EU is doing right now. Divided right wing. The straw poll revealed from the European Union a split among conservatives and right-leaning MPs on the essentially idea of CBDCs. Some had concerns of privacy, some had other concerns regarding CBDC futures. The privacy amendments to secure the 420 vote majority, several amendments were included to mandate offline functionality and encryption. However, critics argue that these are personas at best, as the underlying infrastructure will still allow regulators to link wallets to identities for anti-money laundering, essentially laws. Launch roadmap. With this backing, the European Central Bank ECB is on track for a potential pilot launch in 2027, with a full public rollout targeted for mid 2029. Holding limits. The legislation currently proposes a 3,000 essentially euro limit on individual digital euro holdings to prevent a massive outflow of funds from commercial banks, a move designed to protect the stability of traditional banking sectors, which I think is stupid to begin with. I'll be very honest. Either you're full in or don't do 1 foot in, 1 foot out. The idea of trying to keep banks on life support is just stupid. So the EU is thinking about introducing, they've passed to the next stage of CBDCs, and they, getting ready for CBDCs, and they're saying we're going to put a limit of 3,000 euros when it comes to CBDCs that people can hold in the EU, so that the banks can still survive. What is the point of keeping the banks on life support? Either do 1 foot in, essentially, either do both foots in, but don't do 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because that just creates confusion for everybody. And then limiting people of how much money they can hold is stupid to begin with. Stop keeping the banks on life support. Okay, this goes for every country, to be fairly honest, especially the US banks as well, who will keep on trying to stifle crypto regulations in their favor. Now, moving on regarding how fast CBDCs are actually essentially, moving at this rapid pace. And if you look at the timeline just for now, Q1 2026, they shaked out a lot of the retail section. 2026, Q1, in the crypto market space, they shaked out a ridiculous amount of people from the retail section. And exactly Q1 2026 is when they're talking about CBDCs entering the next phase. The irony in that, where they're shaking the retail section out of crypto, which is your only option in a CBDC world to survive, to be pretty much honest. In a CBDC world, they can tell you to jump, and you have to say how high. If you don't, they'll just cut you off. In the CBDC world, they have told people that essentially you will own nothing and be happy. And the reason behind that is because if you don't smile, they'll just cut you off. So you're obviously going to be happy by owning nothing. I mean, you could see where the future is headed and how crypto is really going to be the one that saves your ass, to be fairly honest. So, and 2026 quarter one is when they decide to shake people out, especially the retail section. And this is when CBDCs are advancing quarter one 2026. The irony. Now, breaking news from Goldman Sachs is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. The idea that crypto is done, crypto is finished, because of this shakeout that we went through. Intelligent people were holding very, like diamond hands, you pretty much say, as what we say inside the crypto space. And the dumb people decided to jump out, and some people jumped out because they had bills to pay, which that one is very understandable. If you had bills to pay and that's why you jumped out the crypto space, that's very understandable. If you didn't have bills to pay and you just panicked and sold, you're a moron, the simplest way to put it. Goldman Sachs has just essentially revealed to the entire world of essentially what their portfolio is. So here it is. Goldman Sachs reveals their $1.1 billion holdings in the crypto space. In a landmark disclosure today, Goldman Sachs revealed the extent of its direct cryptocurrency holdings, signaling a massive institutional pivot. The banking giant reported that it now holds $1.1 billion in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So, here is essentially what Goldman Sachs holds $1 billion in essentially, including $1 billion in Ethereum, $153 million in XRP, $108 million essentially in Solana, and this allocation represents approximately 0.33% of the bank's total portfolio. Just shows the level of wealth. A relatively small percentage for the firm, but a staggering amount context of digital asset liquidity. The filing further indicates that Goldman Sachs' crypto exposure has increased by 15% compared to previous quarters. Why has Goldman Sachs' crypto portfolio essentially increased by 15% compared to other quarters? If crypto is doomed, if crypto has no future, if crypto has no backing, if it's a speculative market space, because it isn't. And anybody still telling you that is a moron. Because Goldman Sachs increasing by 15% on their crypto portfolios demonstrates where this world is headed. This news flows a pattern of high-level institutional engagements in early 2026. With major banks increasingly essentially integrating digital assets into their wealth management and reserve strategies. While people were selling in quarter one 2026 because of the massive, drop we saw inside the market space, people like Goldman Sachs were buying. That should tell you everything you need to know. When there was a shakeout happening in quarter one 2026 inside the crypto space, there was a shakeout, a massive shakeout in crypto, NASDAQ, the list goes on. And the retail section was jumping out. Goldman Sachs was buying. Portfolio diversification beyond Bitcoin, the nearly equal size position in Ethereum and so on in $1 billion suggests Goldman Sachs essentially views Ethereum, XRP, and Solana as vital options. The street growth, this 15% quarter over quarter increase in holdings, suggests that Goldman Sachs traders and analysts are leaning into the recalibration phase mentioned by the Fed Governor Christopher Waller, viewing current price levels as attractive entry points. I shared you news from Christopher Waller yesterday talking about the crypto space and talking about how, we're shifting from this speculation stage to this mature market space, to this cross-border market space, to this regulated market space, is what the Fed was saying yesterday, Christopher Waller. Goldman Sachs is repeating Christopher Waller's words on that matter, that we're moving from speculation to a mature market space. We're moving from, the regular financial system to cross-border payments in the digital world. And that's why Goldman Sachs is increasing their position of 15% at a time. Market sentiment. Following the announcements, essentially, of so far from all these CEOs and all these essentially companies out there who are increasing their positions while the retail section might be jumping out of ship, thinking it's Titanic, in reality, it isn't. This disclosure arrives at a critical juncture for the markets. While Bitcoin has faced pressures from cooling US labor markets and yield warnings at the White House, the revelation that a firm essentially as influential as Goldman Sachs is aggressively increasing its exposure provides a significant psychological flaw for the markets. It reinforces the narrative that the institutionalization of crypto is not just continuing, but accelerating into the mid portion of 2026. Even for a second, if you doubted your crypto essentially portfolio, don't. As you can see, people like Goldman Sachs are increasing their position inside the crypto market space while everybody else is jumping ship and they're holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana. If you're holding XRP, your future is always going to be bright, in my opinion. On that note, of the mixed topics we went through on tonight's live show, as we always do, Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time onwards, we have reached the endings of tonight's live show. This was the CMF live show, stands for Crypto Mouse Family. My name is Miles. You can tune to this live Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time onwards. Disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. Before we do go, obviously, let's go inside the comment section. I'm hoping the live show popped up on X somewhere for people to like and retweet. If it didn't, I don't know why. Let's see where we're at. Talking about this, how is the rollout of CBDCs in the Marshall Islands going? Don't know recent updates on the Marshall Islands, I'll be honest. So, nice. Utilities are a must for 2030. A truly wonderful, passionate, honest live, Miles. Thank you. Good night, Miles and CMF. Jason, thank you so much for the kind words. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Take care, everyone. Let's go, Thompson. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. Great live. Good night, brother. Let's go, T. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. If the live show somehow pops up on X after I end the live show, CMF members, if you can like and retweet this live show, that would be amazing. If you watch this on YouTube, drop a like as well. So when I do end this live show and somehow it pops up on my X feed, on my profile, CMF members, like and retweet the live show because it hasn't popped up now. I don't know why. Still. Take care, everyone. Thompson, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. T, see you tomorrow, same time as usual, brother. Thank you, Miles. Good night. All Stormy, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Ray, great life. Take care, Miles at CMF. Let's go, Ray. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks for sticking out, Miles. Have a great night and see you tomorrow, same time. Let's go, Autistic. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Great life, Miles. Thanks, brother. Let's get comatose. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Great job tonight, Miles. And I appreciate your daily grind. I support you 100%. Scott, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles, for your amazing live show. I am waiting for your call. Let me know. It will be on X or Telegram. Most likely be on X, I think. Or on Telegram. I'll message you before I call you. Night Miles on all CMF. Susie, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I had multiple buttons sharing on both platforms. Clip. I don't know what was happening today, I'll be honest. Good night, family. I love and respect you. Let's go. Scott, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well, brother. I will see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual, 10 p.m., long time onwards. When I end the live show, just check on my X profile. If this pops up on my feed, like and retweet it if it does. If it doesn't, I don't know what's happening with your stream. Good night, Miles, and see you tomorrow night. Funky, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. See you